By the title, you probably already have a guess of what this is about. My name doesn't matter, but for the sake of this video, you can call me Ryan, and I run a courier business on the dark web. It's not some huge operation. I don't take on strangers. My clients are old clients, people I've worked with for years, and I don't accept new business. Privacy is the whole foundation of what I do. I protect my clients' privacy, which also means I genuinely don't know much about them. That's the deal. That's how it's always worked. But I'm telling you this story today because of what happened to me last night. I don't fully understand it myself, and honestly, maybe putting it into words, maybe telling you, will help me make sense of it. So let me start from the very beginning. I was a strange kid, curious, but quiet. Once school started, I got more and more withdrawn. I don't know why. It just happened that way. I didn't have many friends, so I spent most of my time online. And after a while, the normal internet started to feel boring. Sure, there'd be flashes of excitement here and there, but for the most part, the surface web felt flat to me, predictable, sanitized. That's when I found Tor. I used to think of it as a gateway to the unknown. I know everyone's heard stories about the dark web, some true, most exaggerated nonsense. If you think it's just a wall of guns, drugs, and hitman for hire ads, you're not entirely wrong, but that's not all it is. A huge part of the dark web is just forums, places where people go to say things they can't say anywhere else. Confessions, fantasies, secrets they'd never tell a soul in the real world. Anonymous, unfiltered, permanent. And it was on one of those confession boards that I first crossed paths with my very first client. I won't use his real name. Let's call him Silas. Silas was a regular on that site. I don't know much about him, just that he ran some kind of operation on the dark web too. What exactly he did, how he did it, I have no idea. And honestly, I never wanted to know. My job was simple. I picked up his packages from randomized dead drop locations and delivered them to whatever address he gave me. Payment came in crypto. Clean, simple, anonymous. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up. I'd posted on one of those confession forums saying I was looking for work. Anything, really. I just needed money. Silas messaged me not long after, asking if I'd be willing to work for him. I'll admit I hesitated at first, but I needed the cash, so I said yes. The moment I agreed, Silas sent me a link. When I clicked it, the site that loaded was off. Completely black screen, and in the center, just an address. The utility closet behind the vending machines. I memorized it fast, because those sites never stay up for long. Then a message came through, Friday, 1 a.m. Don't be late. You'll know where to go once you pick up the package. My first instinct was to back out, but money's always been a problem for me. It's been that way my whole life. And for a broke kid, a little extra cash always feels less like a risk and more like a lifeline. So I did exactly what I was told. That Friday, I drove out to the address, which, for privacy reasons, I won't share, an old gas station on the edge of my hometown. Just like Silas said, the package was sitting in the utility closet behind the vending machines. It wasn't big. A small envelope, sealed with black wax, exactly like something out of an old movie or a gothic novel you'd find on a library shelf. As I was walking out, a man grabbed my arm. Just grabbed it. Out of nowhere, he gave me a new address and said, word for word, go to 47 Larkspur. Ask for Mr. Whitfield. Tell him the moon is full tonight over the harbor. Then he just let go of my arm and disappeared back behind the vending machines like he'd never been there. I was rattled, but I didn't think too hard about it. I got on my bike and rode to the address he gave me. I knocked, the door opened, and standing there was a massive man, lumberjack beard, a few acne scars across his face, built exactly like something out of a movie. 6'4", maybe 6'5". It took me a second just to process how big this guy actually was. In a shaky, nervous voice, I told him I was looking for Mr. Whitfield. The man stared at me for a few long seconds, really stared, like he was scanning every inch of me, then turned and shouted a name into the house. I'm changing the name here too, so let's say he shouted Dale. A second later, the huge man walked off, and a thinner, average-height man came to the door instead. He looked at me, and I said, trying to sound at least a little confident, Mr. Whitfield, I presume? He gave a small nod. The moon is full tonight over the harbor, I said, nervous as hell, and handed him the envelope straight from my hand. Mr. Whitfield looked at the package for a few seconds, then looked back at me and said, fitting, it's always brightest right before it disappears. And before I could react, he tore into the envelope and shut the door in my face. I stood there, confused about what had just happened, but later I understood. I hopped back on my bike and rode home. When I checked the forum again, There was a new message from Silas. Well done. Package delivered clean. Payments already in your wallet. If you're interested in more work, I'll be in touch. Before I could even reply, I saw a new deposit hit my crypto wallet. $400. Holy shit, I remember thinking. I know some of you are probably thinking, that's it? $400? But trust me, back then, that felt like the world to me. I was broke, actually broke. Seeing that much money hit my account at once was unreal. And that's where my job officially began. I messaged Silas back almost instantly. Yeah, man, I'm in. Whatever you need. Looking back now, I regret typing that message more than almost anything else in my life. Because what came after was rough. There was a time I picked up a package that was leaking some kind of unidentifiable fluid, and cleaning that up was its own nightmare. There was a time the police got a warrant to search my storage unit because of suspicious markings on a box I'd received days earlier. When they showed up, I told them flatly they had no legal right to search without a proper warrant covering that unit specifically. They left. They never came back. Like I said, I take my client's privacy seriously. I don't ask what's in the package unless it needs special handling. And even then, I only ask how to handle it, never what it is. I actively avoid knowing, because once I know, I don't sleep. So I kept working for Silas, regular client. Every Friday, something to deliver. Always a different house, a different part of town. The only constant was the packaging. Always that same pale envelope with the black wax seal. I try not to think about it too much, but sometimes the curiosity creeps in anyway. What's actually inside? I'll get to the rest of that later. There's plenty more I want to tell you, but right now, it's Friday and I've got a delivery to make. You already guessed it, Silas again, except this time, it's not an envelope. This time it's a pearl white box with something written across the top. To the one who delivers. I don't understand what that means. And honestly, I probably shouldn't try to. But the curious part of me, the part that's been curious since I was a kid, is telling me I should look inside just once. I don't know if I will. Sometimes curiosity just hits you like that. By the way, I mentioned Silas, my very first client, but he wasn't my only one. I had a second client. Her name was Eleanor. Eleanor was one of my biggest clients. She paid me amounts that weren't just college money. I'm talking life-changing sums. I actually own a storage unit because of her, and I'll tell you why. Sometimes the pickup date and the delivery date don't line up, so I have to hold on to packages for a while. Obviously, I charge extra for that. I'm not new to this. I know exactly what my time is worth. These mismatches, meaning I already have the package, but the delivery date is later, rarely happen with Silas. But with Eleanor, it happens almost every month. Her packages are never the same size either. Sometimes it's something small enough to fit in a ring box. Sometimes it takes an entire truck just to move one delivery. The strange part is that these deliveries never go to a house, never to a person. I always drop them at the same location. An old, abandoned grain elevator about 3 hours outside my city. I don't know what Eleanor does, and honestly, she pays me so well that it stopped mattering to me a long time ago. I won't tell you the exact location, but I can try to describe it. It's a massive, rusted-out grain silo complex, way out past the edge of anything that could be called a town. From what I understand, it was used for storage back during World War II, though I've never confirmed that. The place is enormous, big enough to fit a semi-truck inside, and completely empty every single time. Sometimes I make multiple deliveries for Eleanor in a single day. But here's the thing, every time I drop something off, drive home, come back with the next delivery, the silo is always empty again, which means somewhere in that window between deliveries, someone comes and picks up whatever I left. I've thought about staying to see who it is. But like I said, client privacy is priority number one for me. Out of all my clients, Eleanor is the one I know the most about for whatever reason. Sometimes she asks me for advice on social things, personal stuff. Even though I'm about as introverted as it gets, I've given her advice a few times anyway. What I've noticed is that she's clearly high up in some kind of social hierarchy. She attends major events in big cities. And if you talk business with her even briefly, her understanding of economics is way beyond casual. She's clearly some kind of entrepreneur. It's strange, honestly, because you start wondering, why is someone like this doing business on the dark web at all? But the pay is too good question, so I never did. Now, let me tell you why I'm bringing up Silas and Eleanor together. Because a few days ago, something happened that changed everything. I found a letter outside my house, not addressed to Ryan, the fake name I use on the dark web, the name Eleanor and Silas both know me by. This letter had my real name on it. And the second I saw that, I panicked. How do they know my real name? That felt deeply, deeply wrong. Because anonymity is something I take incredibly seriously. I opened the letter. It wasn't anything fancy. A plain envelope, plain paper. But but it was signed from Eleanor. Of course, that's not her real name either. I can't disclose that for privacy reasons. Inside it just said, "We need to talk." I can't say much in writing. Meet me at 214 Brackwell Lane, and I'll explain everything. Eleanor, honestly, looking back, I regret my decision more than almost anything. I probably should have cut Eleanor from my client list right then and there. I shouldn't have gone. I was just curious. I want to know how she found my real name, my real address. And I don't know why I made the choice I made. They say curiosity killed a cat. And now I'm starting to think that's not just some saying. Let me tell you what happened. At 4:30 in the morning, I took out one of my clean business cars and started driving. Obviously, I needed a clean vehicle and a believable cover story for my parents. Since I'd be gone all day driving out to meet someone, I told them I had a business meeting down south with a potential supplier. It wasn't entirely a lie, so it was easy to sell. What can I say? By this point, I'd become an expert at lying to my family and honestly, to the whole world. I drove for hours. Around 7:45 in the evening, I finally reached the address. I'd been driving all day and hadn't even checked my phone. I'm sure I missed a bunch of notifications. I decided to scout the area a little before going in, because surprises aren't really my thing. WY 8 p.m. I was standing across from a house. It was newly built right on the coastline. I'm not an architect, but even I could tell this house wasn't cheap. Matte gray, modern build, one entire side covered in massive glass windows, and a large flat roof garage connected to the main structure. After scouting for a bit, I had a pretty good idea of what kind of place and what kind of money I was dealing with. That's when my heart started pounding. I knocked once and immediately asked myself, what am I actually doing here? By the second knock, I was halfway convincing myself to just leave and cut Eleanor out of my life entirely. And just as I raised my hand for a third knock, the door opened. A blonde woman, tall, striking, looked me up and down with an unreadable expression, then asked in a flat, serious tone, "Are you Ryan?" "Yes," I said, more nervous than I wanted to sound. "Good." She led me inside and sat me down on a couch, then asked, "Do you know why you're here?" "No," I admitted. "The letter just said everything will be explained here." She said, "I'm going to be sending you a package, and this package matters to me more than anything else I've ever given you." The blonde woman stood, walked toward the window, and stared out at the ocean before turning back to me. "Can I trust that you'll take care of it?" Before I could even answer, she added, "It'll pay double the usual rate," which, considering what I already made from her normal jobs, meant this was an absolutely insane number. It made my brain short-circuit for a second, but I kept my face completely still. This amount was more than double what I usually made from her combined. And that's when a war started in my head. Loyalty versus business. I leaned back and said, "Sure thing." She nodded. "Good. I'll contact you the day before the package arrives." I nodded back and walked to my car. As soon as I shut the door, I sat there for a second just processing everything that had happened. Then I drove home. Life was peaceful after that meeting, except for Silas. And that's exactly where everything started to unravel. Remember that pearl white box I mentioned? The one I asked you whether I should open? Well, at the time, I decided not to. I messaged Silas about it, but he never replied. So before I left to meet Eleanor, I threw the box away. But guess what? When I went back to the same drop location I'd picked up the first box from, the exact same box was sitting there again. Same pearl white color, same exact text. "To the one who delivers." I didn't know what to do. What did that phrase even mean? What I supply? I'm just a courier. I messaged Silas again about the stupid box. No reply. My anxiety was through the roof. I didn't want anything to do with this box, so I did what I'd done before. I threw it away again. What else was I supposed to do? It wasn't even addressed to me. And even if it was, how was I the one who delivers? People already pay for my service. Why would anyone be sending me something? Today's Friday, and Friday means it's pickup day for Silas. Following my usual routine, I drove to the gas station and checked the utility closet behind the vending machines. But this time, there was no envelope, just a note. The note said, "Ryan, why haven't you opened my gift? I thought you trusted me more than that. Anyway, talk to the cashier. He has a special offer for you. We've always been happy with the quality of your work. Now we want you to do something for us." I stood there reading that note over and over, and I felt a cold wave of dread hit me. Shit, not now. This wouldn't have been such a huge problem if the Eleanor situation hadn't already been sitting on top of it. She'd made it crystal clear that her package mattered more than anything, and that I needed to be fully focused. I couldn't afford to split my attention. I couldn't take a risk. Who knows what she'd do to me if her package got lost or damaged? So I was already tense as hell walking up to the cashier. I tried to play it casual. "Hey man, what's up?" But he just gave me a flat, serious look and tilted his head toward the back door. I understood. He'd already gone in. The second I walked through that back door, there were two massive men waiting, built exactly like bouncers outside a nightclub. They shut the door behind me, and I was walked straight toward the manager's office. As I got close, a voice called out, "Thank you for coming." I turned and saw a short, heavy-set man, somewhere in his 30s or 40s. He waved me into the office, and I assumed he was a manager. He gestured for me to sit, grabbed two glasses, and poured whiskey into both. He slid one across to me and kept the other. "Hello, Ryan," he said, taking a sip. "My name is Silas." For one full second, my brain just went completely blank. This was him. This was the man I'd been working for this entire time. "I have a gift for you, my friend," Silas said. He opened a drawer, pulled out a box, and set it in front of me. The second I saw it, I said, irritated, What even is this?" "It's a gift," he said calmly. Then he leaned forward, his expression turning dead serious. "I need something from you." My heart started pounding. "I know you're delivering packages for my competitor," Silas said, "and I want you to deliver one final package for me. I need you to take her special package, the one she's giving you, and put it inside this box instead." He finished the rest of his whiskey in one shot, looked me dead in the eyes, and asked, "Can you do that for me?" I genuinely didn't know what to say. If I said no, I honestly wasn't sure I'd walk out of that room alive. So I made the decision any reasonably sensible person would make in that situation. "If you pay me the right price," I said, trying to sound a little smug, "then yes." Silas smiled and said, "1 million. Hearing that number, it felt like a full storm went off inside my chest. But I kept my face, my posture, my expression completely locked down. This was more than double what Eleanor was offering. And that's the exact moment a war started inside me. Loyalty versus money. I leaned back, forced a grin, and said, "Sure thing, boss." Silas smiled back. "Good. Message me the moment the package arrives." I finished my drink and walked out. It's 11 p.m. now. I'm sitting in my chair, and on the table in front of me is the package Eleanor sent, the one I'm supposed to protect above everything else. And I can't stop staring at it. I genuinely don't know what to do. Which decision sets my future on the right path? Tonight is going to be a long night for me, and whatever I decide is going to change everything. I'm recording this video right now, sitting a few feet away from that exact package. I'm obviously not going to show you what's inside, mostly because I don't even know yet. But here's the thing. While I've been sitting here talking to you, I noticed something I didn't notice before. Silas's gift box, the one I supposedly threw away twice, is sitting on my kitchen counter right now. I did not bring it in here. I did not put it there. And the taped ceiling, it is already peeled halfway back, like something already tried to get out from the inside. I don't know what tomorrow holds. I don't know what I'll decide, what I'll tell Eleanor, what I'll tell Silas, or whether I'll even get the chance to tell either of them anything. If everything goes fine, I'll post an update and walk you through exactly what happened. And if that update never comes, then I think you already know what that means. So if you want to know how this ends, whether I make it out of this, whether I find out what's actually inside these boxes, and what the one who delivers really means, make sure you're subscribed, because part 2 is coming, and trust me, it gets a lot worse before it gets better. Until then, stay safe, and don't answer the door if you don't recognize the knock.